to give you 10 million US dollars and you have 1 minute. If you receive $10 million, what would you do with it? And I said, on your mark, get set, go. Between 20 and 80% was eroded in 1 minute. I've met people, about 130 billionaires. I've met people that are impoverished. You do a value determination on those, you can see there's a difference in values.
There are people who love to serve and who really want to make a difference and want to contribute. I know several extremely well-known monks. They make a profound difference, and yet they've no interest in money accumulation. They've no interest in wealth accumulation whatsoever.
What people say they want is really what doesn't matter much. What their life demonstrates matters. So if they have a really high value on building wealth, they will. If they don't, they won't. Most people fantasize about it instead of actually have a real value on it.
I was lucky to catch a few precious minutes with Dr. John Demartini during his recent London seminar of the Breakthrough Experience, his signature program. A world-renowned expert in self-mastery and human behavior, Dr. Demartini has inspired millions with his powerful tools for transformation. In this short exchange, I asked him a few key questions on a topic we all care about: what it really takes to generate wealth. I want to talk about causing breakthroughs in people's relationship to money. And the first question that I have is, what's the hidden reason some people subconsciously repel money even when they say they want more of it?
Well, if you ask a group of people, how many of you want to be financially independent? Most people put their hand up. If you ask them how many are financially independent, most people put their hand down. And the hierarchy of their values is dictating how they spend their money and what they do with money. And if they have a higher value on buying consumables that depreciate in value, then they'll be a slave to money all their life. If they have a higher value on deferring gratification, buying assets, accumulate and compound, then they'll be moving in the direction of mastery of money. So what people say they want is really what doesn't matter much. What their life demonstrates matters. And that's based on the hierarchy of their values. So if they have a really high value on building wealth, they will. If they don't, they won't. And most people fantasize about it instead of actually have a real value on it.
Interesting. So you should be investing in property, you should be investing in stocks, bonds, shares, anything that grows in a compound fashion.
Yeah. An asset is something that when you put money in, it grows in either capital gains by growing or by dividends, but it accumulates an interest rate that compounds. And by the law of 72, if it grows 10% every 7.2 years, it's going to double. And so you're putting money into something that is a productive asset that's actually producing a growth. If you buy things that are non-productive assets, you're gambling on somebody else buying it at a higher price. And if you buy things that are consumables that depreciate in value, well, they're not likely to ever get wealthy. Most people do, and then they end up having a fantasy about it, and then they wonder why I can't seem to get ahead, because they really don't have a value on wealth building. They have a value on lifestyle.
Got it. So you've got to really value building wealth. You've got to value building wealth. Save rather than spend is really what you're saying, or build rather than spend.
Well, saving by itself may or may not ever
deliver the value,
because inflation can sometimes erode that. But investing in an asset that gives you a great return increases the probability of you becoming financially more freed. And most people, I was speaking to about 5,000 people in South Africa in 2012. And I asked people how they want to be financially independent. They all put their hands up. Some people put their legs and arms in the air.
Yeah.
I said, how many of you are? And they all put their hands down, except for about 7 people. I said, your hierarchy of values is going to dictate your financial destiny. If you don't have a big enough reason for doing it, you won't. And if you just want immediate gratification, you'll not defer gratification and build up assets. So I gave them a piece of paper. I had them pull out a piece of paper. And I said, I'm going to give you 10 million US dollars. And you have 1 minute, 60 seconds to write down what you would do if you received $10 million, what would you do with it? And I said, on your mark, get set, go. And they imagined, I got $10 million. What would I do with it? And in 60 seconds, they had to write 10 things they would do with it. at the end of the 60 seconds, I had them turn that sheet over to somebody else, and then they would calculate how much of that 10 million is still an asset and how much was spent on consumables to depreciate. Between 20 and 80% was eroded in 1 minute. That way they bought that new car, they bought those new clothes, they went on that trip, they did all the things that gave money to everybody else and did not buy assets.
So talking about hierarchy of values, and specifically values, which values, because often people don't know which values to espouse even, in order that they can build wealth. So in terms of the hierarchy of values, which particular values would you say lend themselves really well to building wealth?
You can't just pluck a value out of the air and say, okay, that's going to be my value. That doesn't work that way. You are going to make decisions based on what gives you the greatest advantage over disadvantage at any moment in time to what your values are. Now, if I stacked up a whole bunch of advantages, and I mean stacked up hundreds and hundreds of advantages of doing the action steps proven to build wealth, you would increase the probability of now doing those. But you just can't pick it out of the hair and say, I'm just now going to go and do that. Won't work.
No.
You have to have new associations in the brain, neural networks,
new habits,
neuroplastic pathways for you to go and say, I know what an asset is. I've learned. I know how to structure the purchase of those assets. I know how to be patient and defer gratification. I know how to let that compound now. And it's not really rocket science, but if you don't have the value to do it, it won't happen. I mean, I've been doing value determinations on people for 46 and a half years. And the ones that are financially independent have it in the top 4 values. And that's consistent. And I feel very certain about that because I've met people, about 130 billionaires. I've met people that are impoverished. You do a value determination on those, you can see there's a difference in values.
When you have financial independence, and in fact, freedom, for me, freedom is a top value. But inside of freedom, you cannot be free unless you have a certain degree of financial independence. So, for me, that determines a lot of my choices. Not for everybody, that may not work for everybody, but having a, really valuing something around being financially independent, that then drives their choices, that then drives a lot of how they think about what they do with their time, with their money, the kind of work they might do, where they put the money.
Well, you're not likely to have any money to invest unless you're doing something that serves people. And if you don't have a desire to have a work ethic for the sake of serving somebody, that's not likely to become very financially. Then if you're not willing to manage the business that it takes to do that service, where it's effective and efficient enough to where there's a profit, you're not likely to have wealth. And then if you're not willing to defer and you know exactly what you're going to do to buy assets with it, then you're likely to do it. It's not rocket science. It doesn't take a lot. It's just a matter of looking at what your values really are, and are you actually putting money into asset accumulation? If you do, you're going to get wealthier.
Got it. I mean, there are people who love to serve and who really want to make a difference and want to contribute, but not necessarily. Like, for example, I know several extremely well-known monks, I mean, they make a profound difference, and yet they've no interest in money accumulation. They've no interest in wealth accumulation whatsoever. They give away what they do. Other people around them may then capitalize on what they offer in order that they can have an organization to be able to do their work. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not because somebody wants to serve people that it automatically goes. I think you have to have a focus on wanting wealth as a part of your own.
Service is just the source. Just you can serve until you're blue in the face.
There you go.
If you don't have a value on wealth accumulation, it won't. So a monk who's been indoctrinated by some Buddhist or Christian, financial thinking process, they may suppress the natural tendency to want to have a greater financial position. I always say any area of your life you don't empower, other people are going to overpower you. But those individuals depend on other people that have money.
That's one of the wealthiest states, in the world. In fact, probably the wealthiest. And, they accumulate money. they have somehow managed, they've got people around them that have that as a value, and they tend to do that. But I completely get what you're saying. You've got to value wealth accumulation as being a part of
that
mindset.
Everybody has wealth. In the definition of genuine wealth, everybody has wealth. And let me give you an example. Let's say you have a very high value on your children. You may store your financial wealth in the form of children, because you have, if I was to say, I'll give you $1 million to your child, you go, no. Well, then there's $1 million. You value that child at least $1 million worth. So you're storing $1 million worth of asset in that child. If I gave you $1 billion for your child and they say, okay, now I'll sell it. Then they go, okay, well, he's obviously not worth that amount. I'll take it. So we store wealth in the form of what we value most. Some have it in social contribution, some in spirituality, some business. There's people that have big business but no financial assets. You have some that are monks, some that are physically fit. I know a woman that would not even go on a date. And this was not an escort. This is a woman that would not even go on a date unless they put $500,000 down. And she got it.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That's really useful. We'll continue this conversation in more detail, I'm sure, in another time, another space, another podcast.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for grabbing 5-10 minutes with me today. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.